Hey guys, what's up? It's Kale Ninja back again with another video, and today we're back with another character discussion. Today, we were supposed to be talking about Mr. King Explosion Murder right here, but due to popular request, we are going to be doing Toga. We're going to be talking about Toga, the character that literally everyone hates, and at the very end, we're going to be talking to the best Toga player in the world, shyguyranger, asking him what he thinks is the strongest part about Toga and all the things that he thinks are insanely busted about this character. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so first off, we're going to talk about Toga's gimmick. So, Toga is, or what Toga is, her archetype and stuff. Toga is a unique zoner. I wouldn't say she's like a violent zoner, because her projectiles don't seem to really get her to her. Besides, her knives don't really seem to get her to her like game plan or win condition, which is to do this. Now, her gimmick is probably I'd say she probably has the strongest gimmick in the game. In my humble opinion, maybe someone thinks one is stronger than the other, but I think this is probably the strongest quirk button in the entire game. Because if it hits you, she just wins the game for like, I'd say around a good 20 seconds, she just straight up wins the game. Alright, so I'm going to do a quick explanation on what Toga's transform does. So Toga will fire this at you, fire this wide arcing projectile at you, and if it hits you, you will get hit. And then if you get hit, Toga will start glowing pink. Now, after a while, if you don't do anything with it, it'll go away. Yeah, like that. It'll go away. But if you press the quirk 1 button again, you will transform into the other player's character. And when you do that, you don't have access to any of their quirk buttons, but you have access to their assists. And what that means is that they can no longer break. And when they hit you, hold on, let me give a quick demonstration. I will tell Rappa to hit me with his target combo, and when he hits me, this bullshit will actually just straight up happen. Hold on. See that? You cannot hit Toga while it's active. I mean, you can, but you'd have to be ready to just guard on a frame, because most Toga players will be mashing the shit out of their assist buttons just to see what would happen. So what happens is that she takes your assist, you can no longer break, and you can no longer use your assist. So that's what makes her insanely strong. But we can go over some of her other strengths that she has right now. Just like I said in the last part, she has probably the strongest gimmick in the entire game, and that's what people are annoyed about. Her moves are really good at annoying people. If I didn't have the sound effects on, she'd be giggling at you, and sound design... Here's a little thing about fighting games. Sound design adds a decent bit to a character, right? You know, how most people would recognize a character based on their voice or the sound effects that they have. Toga has an extremely high-pitched anime girl voice, and you'll be hearing that for a solid 60 seconds in a match. So, Toga will be extremely annoying and be ingrained into your brain as extremely annoying, and that'll automatically put a negative connotation of that character, fighting that character in your head, automatically making you slightly more pissed off. Like, if you see a character you don't like fighting, you're like, ugh, this character. I'm not gonna lie, I hate this character a lot. Most people find her boring, but I think it's only boring when you're fighting her and not playing her. Because if you have any any idea how cool turning into the other person's character is, stealing their moves and taking their assist, Toga has like endless tech, boy. Like endless tech. Like, you don't know. Like, I can't do a Rappa combo without like my assists and stuff and like my actual quirk buttons. But yeah, Toga combos go nuts. They go nuts. So yeah, most Toga players either stick to spamming and being garbage, or they'll like actually learn how to play the character and find some combos with assist stealing and character stealing, which I'd say only one Toga has ever done in the entirety of this game. I mean, maybe two, but mostly just one. But yeah, Toga is extremely strong because her projectiles are actually really good For not being a zoner, she has really good projectiles. So she can play pretty lame. She can play pretty lame. I don't consider Toga a zoner. I consider her a gimmick character. You know how Phoenix Wright in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom? I don't consider her a zoner. I consider her a massive gimmick, like one massive gimmick, and that's not an insult to a gimmick character. Gimmick characters are generally just characters who win or whose win conditions are different than every other character. So, for example, Rappa just wants to hit you, and that's not really much of a unique win condition. Um, Toga, on the other hand, wants to take your assists away from you, keep them away from you, and not let you play the game. Take away the mechanics that you're literally so used to, and make it so that way you could barely ever play it, like, at all. And that's her win condition. It's completely unique to basically every other character, because she's the only one that can do it. But yeah, and she has really good moves to enable that, because she can combo into it if I wasn't garbage. She can combo into it from a wall splat. Like, hold on. Bro, I cannot move. Okay. She can combo into it with a wall splat like so. And then she can hit you after, which is pretty funny, but also hella annoying because she can run her advantage and get her win condition. So yeah. That's what makes her strong. She doesn't have very many weaknesses. I could just cover one quick weakness, is that happens a decent bit. Just a decent bit. They're not inescapable, but I think they go full screen. No, they don't go full screen. They go half screen, so they have a distance, but Toga is still strong. Toga is still strong. Another thing that she does that I don't know, I'm not a Toga player, but she doesn't seem to do a lot of damage without, like, stealing other characters' assists and then just dumping all your resources into that. But yeah, that's really what her strengths are. Now we can get on to what I would change about her, which is the entire fucking character. Now, I know normally characters don't get reworks, and I did this in the Overhaul version 2 video. I'm gonna talk about what I'd want Toga to be if she got reworked and I was at Viking, but whatever. One good thing is that because of the new seasons and stuff, Toga needs a new. Toga either needs another version, or like a straight up like rework, because the moveset is kind of outdated in my opinion. But yeah, due to her being what most players in the community would like to call fucking brain dead, Toga isn't very popular. I mean, she's popular because she's, it's cute anime waifu. I want to play cute anime girl, but yeah, fighting her is like not fun. It's like how Guilty Gear players hate Biken, but every other person who doesn't play the game loves Biken. So, yeah, that's basically how that functions. Toga, I feel like she plays too passive. I feel like for what she does, she plays too passive. So, what I would probably do is that I would get rid of this. I'd probably get rid of that. I would get rid of it, but she'd still be able to do it just in a different way. I feel like what should happen is that this move, Toe Quirk 2, should have the properties of those needles. Where if you stab them enough, then she gets her win condition, and she actually has to fight you in order for it to actually work. Now, I'm not saying she shouldn't have any projectiles. You can keep the knives. Hell, you can keep the knives. Hell, you can even keep Charge Quirk 2. Like, you can keep the projectiles. Characters with projectiles aren't zoners, but this projectile is absolutely brain dead because it has a lot of priority, pretty good tracking. The only problem with it is that at closer ranges, they just whiff. But even that, if a single one hits you, she gets her win condition. So I feel like she should have to work at least a little bit harder to get it. Obviously, you can combo into this, so if you hit it, you're getting it. But at least there's like some warnings, so that way someone can break fast enough to actually get away from it. So you can work around it. She doesn't invalidate complete fucking rush down, get into your face characters like Rappa, even though zoners are a prime archetype to do that, and they should always be in fighting games no matter what anyone else says. But yeah, I feel like she's just a tad bit brain dead. I'd make her. She's fast already. I don't think there's anything I need to do with her movement. her damage could be higher if we're getting rid of her if we're getting rid of this, her damage on natural should be higher. And I want to, and I know it sounds dumb, or I know it sounds crazy, get rid of her ability to take away your assist. Because it's dumb. It's the most broken part of her kit. It's the most broken part of her win condition. Because not only can you not break, but you can't actually, like, do anything about it if you actually do hit her, because she can just, haha, mash triangle or circle, and then boom, you lost advantage for winning advantage. But yeah, it's generally really stupid how she can do that. I would get rid of that. What I would do, however, to make it so that way there's an incentive, is that I would give her the quirk buttons. I would give her the quirk buttons of the characters. And I would make it so that way assists don't track her. Because in lore, I'd assume they'd be confused on which one they should hit, and they just would be confused and not track her. You know how Cammy has a little counter where you look confused, you're like, huh? That's probably what would happen to those assists. They just wouldn't hit her. They just wouldn't track her natively. Like how Siyu can turn invisible, and then stuff just will not track her. That's what would happen to Toga, because they're confused. And it's funny. Maybe as a little bit of fan service, the dumber the character is, like in lore, the different responses. Like, say for example, Deku would just be confused and just like miss and like try to go for the hit, but be confused and like a miss. But someone like Kirishima would be so confused that he wouldn't move at all. Like, that's the type of thing that I would do. Just to give her a little bit more fun, just to make some little bit of lore pieces. Another thing that I'd probably do is give it so that way her quirk or plus Ultra 1 gives her her win condition. Just a little thing. It gives her her transformation state. Kind of like how Kiri gets his armor state when he goes plus Ultra 1. I think that'd just be a little thing just to incentivize you to do that, because I don't really see Toga players do that much, because I don't really think it's that useful. Toga already does a lot of damage, and you'd probably be saving meter to combo into whatever the fuck you want. But yeah, I really think that Toga should just be a harder rushdown character. And I know that people who like Toga are going to miss the funny haha shoot needles boom, and it sucks. But yeah, I feel like it's more detrimental to everyone else than to like the 6 Toga players who just hate the world. Yeah, I think there's a necessary sacrifice to say we can get rid of this. We can get rid of this, but we should give her more options to get the transformation state if we're getting rid of that. Because it was already so powerful that might as well have covered like 15 options. But yeah, that's basically what I would change about Toga. So let's talk to Shy and see what he thinks is strong about the character. Alright, Mr. Shy, I'm recording now, and we are going to ask you we're going to ask you the funny, important question. Obviously, you are the best Toga in the world, and I wanted to ask you a few things about Toga, and, just some fun stuff, just wanted to ask you. Alright, so, you ready?
I am extremely ready.
Alright, so first off,
Super ready.
so the first thing we're gonna ask, what do you think, why do you think Toga is so powerful?
So so how you explained V2 and why he sucks as a zoner, I feel like is the complete opposite for Toga.
Mm.
Her knives either push you really far back on block, or can do like a really good chunk of your guard pressure, especially nowadays with her like stain assist or things I can track and just do extra guard bar or just force the opponent to like be blocking to get hit by it.
Mhm.
So her lack of options on block for like block strings gets kind of voided in that sense because of her projectiles.
Mm.
And while there's quirk 1 that goes away, allows her to get her quirk, but also is like a really good anti-air. She can combo off it. And they always do 4K for her prominent projectiles. It's not like 2K, 1K. You always get the 4K, no matter which one you use. And then if someone breaks your combo, they don't go away. So you could break the combo, but if I have quirk 1 out, it's still going to hit you, and I could win off that, which I have many times.
Mm. Alright, so in short, Toga's projectiles are just insane, and her quirk 1 just gives her so much.
Yeah, her projectiles just kind of do what the other one doesn't, and they're always just doing at least something where you're having to be wary of it, even if you block it, unlike a lot of other projectile characters.
Alright, so one thing I need to ask, and I know people are probably going to ask this, for any people struggling against Toga, is there any tips you would have against her that you would like to share?
Uh, Press the sidestep button. It's not hard to dodge projectiles, especially since some go slower, or if she's going to be across the map. It's really not that hard in theory to dodge it. Like, if we're talking higher down the line, though, when you're having to deal with, like, stain or other things where at least, like, there's constant guard pressure,
Mhm.
then that's a different story. But for people saying it's beatable to dodge projectiles, it's really not that bad.
Mm.
People that don't know how to deal with it well. It's like you could just sidestep. If you're in the air, then that's your own problem. Then
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. And they're also easier to just guard than a decent chunk of other projectiles, at least for the needles, knives. If you don't just guard, I'm not gonna blame you. But at that point, you just sidestep, or you just block it. But then you're watching your guard bar. But
Yeah. Alright,
as long as you're
so
smart.
I was going to ask you something, but I completely forgot. No, actually, I think I remember now. This will be a supplementary question until I remember what I was going to talk about. What do you think? Who do you think are the best assists for Toga?
Best assists, like best two, or just like best ones if you're going to use Toga. Period.
Best ones if you're gonna use Toga. Period.
Um, I feel like it depends, but I think the one that's the best is Stain for
Mm,
similar reasons, like I said before, because a lot of the time, if they're not going to be just guarding the projectile, they're going to have to at least block it, if they're at
true,
mid-range
true.
or whatever. And Stain will always hit their block, so you're kind of forcing them to either get the just guard on, like, your projectile, or they're taking a whole bunch of guard pressure, and Stain just helps do the guard pressure for her. So
Mhm.
then she only has to hit like a charge quirk two on block, and then it's broken if Stain hits. And also in the air can track a lot, so it kind of does what Kiri does, but somewhat better. Other
Mhm.
assists would be Kiri, obviously, but that's the meta assist. There's
True, true.
Midnight, which works a lot for getting quirk one kills or being very disruptive if they're trying to run away instead of like, approach you or whatever.
Mhm.
Since it actually works a lot more than you think. Um, Nedrick kind of works, but I feel like she's not as effective as she could have been nowadays just because, you're not getting block strings. Like, it can kind of work for mix-ups if we get Quirk 1 across the map, but at that point, I'd rather hit Quirk 1, summon a Kiri, and then just reset the neutral as I transform. So
Oh, okay.
mainly those three would be Stain at number 1, Kiri at number 2, Midnight at number 3. However, a lot of assists work for Toga, but those are just the three I think are the best, period.
Oh, okay. Great, great, great. Thank you for your insight. All right. So the next one is I think this might be a little bit of a funny question for you to answer since you're a bit of a troll. Um, why do you think Toga is so hated in this community?
Um, a lot of reasons, to be honest.
Mm.
So, one reason is because of her gimmick,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think her gimmick is fairly implemented in terms of how this game does balancing. Like, if this was another fighting game, like, I know her gimmick is kind of broken, but it's not
yeah.
like you can't do anything about it. However, if you were to do it the other way, which I always used to mention about using the quirk buttons instead, there'd be no real incentive to ever transform because Quirk 1 and Quirk 2 are just a lot better buttons. Or if you have Tilt Quirk 2, then you have reversal potential. And if you
Mm.
have other people's Quirk, then it's kind of like twice, right?
Yeah.
Except you're just a clone at that point. Which, while
Yeah.
it's cool, you don't get any incentive to do it. So the assist makes sense in that ladder to make it incentive while not being able to use Quirk buttons. Hence why the creator of OJ1 said Toga was the hardest to implement because, yeah, in the anime she's not summoning Deku to go beat up people, but in that you also have reason to be someone else.
Yeah.
So that's obviously annoying because people for the most part aren't DCing just guarding or being
Yeah.
able to like do things where they're dodging the assist with certain moves. So they're in a combo. They're they're gonna win, then they don't, and then the Toga does it. Another thing is back what we kind of mentioned about earlier. People like to complain about her projectiles when there's a lot more annoying zoners. Like
Yeah,
Toga is definitely one of the most annoying zoners, but like with people like V1, there's V1 who can go across the map and do spikes that go right under you, and you can't do anything. Toga, her projectiles are very strong. Some might be the best in the game, per se, but with Quirk 1, if you land it, you can't do it anymore, and most Togas like to just rush to transform so you can try and punish them. Or at least they can't use that move, so you can be free in the air if you're a better character like Ochako or Nejire that love the air. And Charge 2 is amazing, but it's a bit slow, so it's easier to kind of maneuver.
yeah.
But a lot of people in this community like to complain rather than
Actually
learn how to
adapt.
deal with something.
Yeah.
Which is not a jab or me being like, oh, I'm Toga, but there's a lot of people, whether it's the Discord or the server or anywhere, that like to complain a lot, which, I mean, is fair. This isn't a super serious fighting game compared to, like, Tekken or Street Fighter.
We aren't playing Tekken neutral. We aren't playing fighters. We're playing an arena fighter, bro.
Yeah, and it's just, they can't do it with their projectiles, and then when you get hit by a projectile, it becomes a very angry snowball, because it's like, oh, she gets my assists now. Ugh, I can't do nothing.
Yeah.
She gets to do it all the time. She should have a cooldown. And it's like, okay, but if she does, then she's like, why? Why would she need a cooldown? That just makes her character not nearly as good, if even bad.
Yeah.
So it's like mainly those two, and then, like that's the cherry on top, like, oh, her red doesn't drop people. Oh, they have a lot of meter because they select the zone, so then they plus ultra me. Or, oh, I'm doing a combo string and they just took Quirk 2. And it's like, eh.
Yeah.
So it's like, they just like every little thing complains, and then like at all of it, especially on ranked, like people like Giz, they like to zone more than do combos per se. And so people will just be very upset that they not only get hit, but then they're losing their assists, and then becomes a huge snowball mentally where they're getting more and more tilted every time because of that, which is at least fair, because there's been a lot of even tournament sets recently where someone gets hit and loses their assist and dies because of it.
Yeah, true.
Which is fair, but I think those are like the main reasons. And then they kind of tie into each other like a non-ending loop.
Alright, so one final question before I end this little mini interview thing. To any, like, Toga players who want to get better, what's one thing that you suggest them to learn or get better at doing?
There's a lot of different things, but I don't know. One main thing is, a lot of the zoners you'll see for Toga, similar to what I said before even, they have a very kind of similar loop. They'll start with Quirk 1, or they'll do Quirk 2, they'll run, they'll do it, and they'll keep doing it, even sometimes if it feels like they don't have a health lead, or it doesn't really have an idea. Or if they land Quirk 1, they're immediately trying to just transform or land a Quirk 2 or something, instead of just, like, getting a combo to then confirm it, or, just not doing it at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, my whole thing would just be, if you're playing a zoner, the whole point is to get them to be impatient and come to you, and, like, make them so they don't deal with the zoning well, and Toga is great at ruining someone's mental game.
I know that for sure.
Obviously, just be patient with the zoning, be safe with it. You don't need to, if they're 2 feet in front of you, you don't have to try and Quirk 2 where they'll just sidestep and just punish you. Or Quirk 1, if they're in the air, you can Quirk 1 them. You don't have to press them back and forth. Obviously, if they're at a range, you can, suppress them, but if you're just doing that back and forth, you're just giving them more time to approach where you could just be safe. Or if you want to do them in front of you, just pick actual assists that can kind of cover you if you try and do a little unsafe kind of projectile like Kiri, who can just knock them away and do 4K. Or
yeah, true.
Nejire, which I said before, even though I don't think it's as good these days for Toga compared to the other ones, still can cover you where you can do it and then be safe after.
Yeah. I get that. So, first off, thank you. I asked you to come on here, like, what, Monday?
Maybe?
I asked you to come on here like 3 days ago, I think. So thank you for clearing your funny little schedule, and yeah, um, I'm gonna end the video now. Thanks for showing up, Shy. You a real one. I'm just letting you know.
No problem,
But
man.
yeah, I'm gonna end the video now. Bye.